Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Bamsters Rated R podcast. This week, episode 174. We're going to do a brief intro to some of the things you may see coming this week from G as he visits Gamescom, and talk a little bit about Remnant from the Ashes, something I started playing on Friday. Sitting with me here in the office, or at least in the mirrored office, all the way over on the other side of the world, G.
Bro, I'm barely a third of a world away.
So?
You've been watching too much, what's that? That's the Arrowverse, where they can literally travel from whichever place it is, clearly on the west coast, that Star or Starling city is in. They can travel from there to Tibet and back in a day. Have you noticed that?
Well, I mean, when you're like the Flash, yeah, you could probably travel the entire...
Flash, sure. But Arrow, we will see things where we can see during a day these events happen for the people who stay back in Stalin, and he will fly over to Tibet or wherever it is Ra's al Ghul was, do things, fight, and then fly back and be there in time for the evening.
Yeah, see, when it comes to entertainment, I like to just turn my mind off and try to not pick at it too much. There are things that if it's too blatant, I'll pick at, but yeah, stuff like that, I just kind of go with.
Genuinely, my theory is Americans don't understand geography. They don't understand how big the world is. So for them, everything is just a quick flight away, because inside the U.S., everything is a quick flight away.
I wouldn't exactly call 7 hours quick flight. I mean, if you're flying from one coast to the other, it can take 6 or 7 hours.
Barely. Chicago El Paso was, what, an hour and a... No, sorry, 2.5 hours?
Yeah, but I'm talking like Southern California to New York, yeah.
Yeah, so not just across east-west, but also north-south. I'll believe that can take 6 hours, yeah, probably.
But, well, I guess on that note in geography, you're going to be in Cologne, is that correct, for Gamescom?
Cologne, yeah. Gamescom 2019.
Well, what do you have on the schedule? What kinds of things are we going to expect to see from you? I guess I should mention that we're pre-recording this early before you leave on the trip, but as the episode comes out, you will have just started Gamescom.
Yeah, as we're recording, I'm heading out. Actually, I'm heading to Devcom, with a V, not an F, tomorrow morning. And then I'm catching Devcon Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm doing Gamescom, where the door opens officially on Wednesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday's Gamescom. But the business-to-business part is already on Tuesday and ends Thursday. And, what am I doing? What am I not doing? Devcom, I have some interesting tracks I'm following. There's Hadean, Ether Wars are doing their big thing also tomorrow, Sunday, so when you're listening to this, it will be in the past. Their test 2, second test, of Ether War / Hadean to see that it works. It's this giant engine, back engine, or back end, for multiplayer, and they're trying to set a record for the most people in a multiplayer game concurrently in one place.
I figured you for dead.
And they're doing a talk on Sunday, and then afterwards I have an agreement to just meet up with them, and then Thursday, I think it is, I'm having an actual look at their engine and look at them with an official meet and greet with them. So that's one of the big things, getting first to see the presentation, then they have their test and getting to also talk to them, of course, and then a certain Thursday I have a sit down with them to figure out what they're doing going forward.
We said they're targeting to get the most players in a multiplayer platform, so like what is their target for how many players are they shooting for?
I think test 1 was 10,000. I don't know if they reached that. I think they were a little bit shy of it. And test 2 probably just more than 10,000, as many as they can get. And it isn't just in a multiplayer platform, because that's been done, but getting them all in one place, that's the big thing.
So all in one instance with the ability to interact with each other.
Yeah, and because it's it's Ether Wars, the game engine that they're making, and there might be there's a little bit of a rumbling going on. There might be some announcements going forward that Eve might be, CCP might be doing something more with that platform. It will be spaceships, so you can fly around and you can shoot the other 9,999 players.
Exactly. And it may not even
Or be shot by all of them.
Oh yeah.
a stairway.
I think in test 1 they hit 10,000 and something, including bots. Like they loaded up bots because they needed to hit 10,000. And not everybody logged in at the same time, and some logged out again before others logged in, stuff like that.
Well, still, could be interesting.
I know another one where we'll be seeing Novaquark.
Don't imagine your fists will do much.
Oof, that's literally the meeting just before Hadean. Whoops. That's Spatial OS, which is was sort of the same thing. They're trying to solve the same problems, more or less, as Hadean's doing. Improbable. That's the company, a French company, making Spatial OS, which is also a backend for MMOs. And yeah, I have those two meetings back to back. And the part that I'll be looking at is Dual Universe, Novaquark. And what were they? They tested, was it 3,000, mostly bots, but you see that 3,000 entities with network traffic and everything, bots that pretended to be players, not just instances inside the engine, but instances that connected to the engine, running around in one place on one planet. So I am definitely looking forward to both of these to see, what is the next level of MMOs. And in the case of Dual Universe, what does it mean if you have 10,000 people, or 3,000 people in their case, on one planet that can be mined? I'd love to see the idea of just 3,000 people starting at one end of a planet and just removing it, and just watch the game developers go, we needed that one.
Well, and Dual Universe, that one, I saw a little tagline somewhere that said they were trying to enable millions of players, not just 1 million, but millions as in plural, to share the same quote unquote shard or instance.
So we know Spatial OS, they just had, in the last 3 months, 3 games have been cancelled that were based on Spatial OS. So it's not looking pretty for them right now. The one we kind of followed was World Adrift by Bossa Studios, but 2 others that hadn't really released were cancelled. So everything rinds a little bit on Dual Universe actually succeeding. But they want millions, and they have an engine where they shard based on a number of players and can dynamically shard the size of the universe. So they can take the whole universe and shard it in different sizes depending on how many players are where. And as you move around, you can then move from one shard to another transparently. So that's sort of what they're trying to do. And yeah, millions and said thousands on a single planet.
That seems a bit insane and chaotic, but also sounds really cool.
But millions, I think Elite Dangerous could do it. Elite Dangerous literally has. It's supposed to mimic our galaxy, and if it does that, it would have 200 to 400 billion planets.
Wow. Assuming
they have a flexible backend, they could shard per planet and just go to that planet, go over there. So Elite Dangerous at least has some of that, but you can't be, because of how flying, how fight, combat, etc. is. You can only be a few tens, I think it is, per instanced encounter. So Dual Universe is definitely going all out. It's going for that, both the Elite Dangerous mechanics of seeing things, the EVE Online mechanics of having a player-run universe, a player-run economy, a player-run industry, player-run stories, all of the things that we love from EVE, but as I said, in first person. And then also the ability to destroy, a destructive environment. You can mine out a planet theoretically. All with that huge backend. It's the most ambitious game right now. Star Citizen might have all the money, but Dual Universe, Star Citizen ain't got shit on them.
I'm getting this image in my mind of dropping out of warp to a planet that's been, hollowed out into... You picture like an apple, and you're eating around the apple, and all that's left is the core, and then the top and the bottom.
Yeah, I don't actually know how much down you can destroy the planet if there's... A lot of these games have... For starters, the planets usually are not full size. Even Kerbal Space Program, the planets are, 10 to 1 relation. So Earth is 6,200 kilometers in radius. KSP is 620, so 1/10. And what's the next one? Space Engineers is only 62,000. That's 1% the size of our planet. Games don't have that full size. That's the first thing they do, but a lot of them also only allow you to like scrape up off the first few hundred meters. What do we play? Boundless. Boundless goes down. Well, its full height is only 255 meters. From the highest you can go to the lowest you can go. So that's the thing in these games. You don't have maximum travel up and down. I don't know what Dual Universe will do, but theoretically you could probably, if they build the engine, just chop off half a planet.
Yeah, I was going to say at a certain point you wouldn't be able to go any further, and that would make sense, but...
And it's the same on our planet. The deepest we can imagine going anywhere is about 22 kilometers. So, simply pressure, heat, everything gets just terrible. Most of the Earth you can only go down 10 kilometers, if even that. Some places only a couple kilometers. So that would be interesting to see. And yes, if you could scrape off a 10 kilometer, dig a 10 kilometer hole on a planet our size, Earth size, that's just a small divot. That's like a that's less than the divots on a golf ball. So you wouldn't see it, but it's one of those things. It'll be interesting to see what they allow and what they don't. But elsewise, just looking at it, Monday there's a talk about the Borderlands 3 narrative. I'm looking forward to that one.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
It's just to hear how they build a narrative.
Oh, okay. Because I know that you haven't been too big on that game. I've more or less been on the fence, and I know that you haven't been too impressed, and I think it's mostly because the we'll say antics of the Gearbox CEO. But I was surprised you were interested in that.
The reason to not play it is Randy Pitchford, pure and simple. But that doesn't mean that there isn't good work going into the game, and it's interesting to hear how do you build up a narrative in a game like this, because they are good narratives, and there are a lot of good elements in the Borderlands games. So definitely want to see that one.
Yeah, I have to say, I had a hard time. I don't think we even finished the pre-sequel, because I think at that point I just felt a little burned out with the Borderlands stuff. But, watching some of the trailers and whatnot that are coming out, it has kind of piqued my interest a little bit. But I think I doubt that I'll be playing it at launch. I'll probably wait until it comes to Steam, like 6 months later or whatever.
Oh, poor you and the Epic Store.
No, look, I'm not as dramatically opposed to what they're doing as a lot of folks are. I'm not excited about it.
Sure.
But look, I have the Epic launcher on my system. I had it on my system before all this because I played a few rounds of Fortnite just for shits and grins to do it. But I don't like the exclusive stuff. I really don't care for that. I also understand why they're doing it and why they're successful in doing it. So all I can hope is that at some point there's enough, community pushback and bad press that continues to push them towards adding features to their storefront that should have really been there already, and that their storefront improves and hopefully someday does become an actual competitor, both in quality and quantity to Steam.
Yeah, that's a topic I don't want to deal with right now. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
It's a stupid topic. Other things, there's a talk about... I want to hear about Everspace and how they had experiences with that, because as we've heard, there is the Gamescom opening night presentation, which is basically just the Game Awards show without awards. So it's just going to be an hour and a half of ads for different games, which is again what the Game Awards was. It was ads with awards thrown in the mix. Terrible, actually. It really wasn't good. And it's the same guy, what's his face, that's running this. It's literally the same person that was behind it. But at the Gamescom opening night, they will be showing Rockfish's next game. That's the company behind Everspace, a single-player spaceship RPG. And I want to see what that is, but before that, there's a presentation on lessons learned from Everspace. And those things ties together that then Tuesday morning, as the very first one, after they revealed the game, Monday night late, Tuesday morning as the first member of press, we're talking with the CEO from Rockfish about their new game. Guess who doesn't get to sleep but has to stay up and basically prepare based on the trailer they show at this event. So that's going to be fun, but I'm looking forward to it. They're also, I'm going to probably stab him a little bit about their PR marketing plans for Everspace, because that was terrible.
Well, and if some of the stuff I've been reading, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like this announcement may just be like an Everspace-like MMO, where they're basically going to be doing this, space shooter, but MMO, where you can get a whole bunch of people in playing. And one of the things I was wondering, if that is the case, is there going to be a VR option for that, like there is with Everspace? But I don't know. So have you seen or heard anything as to whether or not that's likely what they're going to announce, as far as whether or not it's
single player?
Oh, you think it's going to be? They've said single player then?
One of the things I've seen, which I can only say single player because I think that was NDA'd until Tuesday. This goes out Wednesday. It should be single player, as I understood. So, and the big question is also, to what extent is it based on Everspace and all the things they have there? But we'll find out, won't we?
Well, stay tuned for that one then, because ASG is at Gamescom. We're going to be endeavoring to get things out to you guys as quickly as we can once he gets things uploaded to the cloud, and then I get a chance to pull them down and put them together.
And hopefully I'll be writing a little bit, there might be some written stuff about the Borderlands stuff, and the other one, I think you would like this one, Wolfenstein Youngblood design presentation.
That one could be interesting. The game itself, it's taken a lot of criticism, especially for the dialogue between the two main characters, which I completely agree with. They're in some respects, these two characters are pretty annoying, but the gameplay itself,
siblings, of course, they're annoying.
But the gameplay itself, for the most part, has been fun. Some of the enemies have been, at least feel a little too bullet spongy. Though I did see that there was a patch released, I think it was this past weekend, or maybe it was Thursday or Friday night last week, that was supposed to fix some of the sponginess of some of the enemies. I just haven't had a chance to check that out yet.
Spongitivity.
Look at us coining new terms.
Yeah. So it's just it's a presentation or a talk on the design challenges, and particularly, and this is part I think you will like. It's the challenges of going. You're having a game that can go from single player to co-op. Like, what design challenges show up when you take a single player game and then allow another person to show up? Twice the amount of shooting going on. Twice the. Do you just sponge people? Do you just really turn up the spongitivity, or do you add more of them? Do you add more henchmen? What do you do? Things like this.
I think with most,
storytelling also affects. Just to wrap it up, storytelling. How do missions play out? Do missions actually change, or what do you have to do to make the missions work? Single player, dual player. All of these things. So there's all elements in the game gets affected when you go from single player to co-op. Not just as that spongitivity, because that's the one we always see, but everything in the game, and the game has to at least reliably be able to do both. So that's one of those talks that I'm definitely looking forward to.
Well, I certainly feel like they relied on the buddy door mechanic a little too heavily, where you had to have two people to open a door. That got reused quite a bit too much.
The storytelling gatekeeping.
Yeah, but as far as and I get that you're trying to keep the players together, but still, the fact that you both have to walk up and do something to open a door, rather than just, I would have rather you go up to the door and it's like, okay, before you continue, the rest of your group has to be ready, or something like that, like they do in other games. That's fine. But I think when it comes to balancing enemies, what I'm a particular fan of is rather than just one thing or the other, rather than just making the enemies more spongy or just spawning more enemies, it's, you know, like in most things in life, it's a balance. You got to find that right balance of doing a little bit of both, because you don't want to increase the sponginess so much that it feels like you're just entering clip after clip into these enemies, and you don't want to spawn so many enemies that, you know, you're completely overwhelming the characters. So it's, I don't know, in my mind, I think it's a little bit of a balance of both. You make them a little bit harder to kill, and you add several more enemies, and that increases your difficulty for multiplayer. But
perhaps you turn the intelligence of the characters a little bit up.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Let them hide a little bit more.
Yep.
So that's one of those that I hope to catch, and you know, there might be something coming out of that. Then I have the headache. There's a indie award show that I kind of sort of want to attend, but Amplitude Studios is also doing a presentation on the Endless Universe, and they're at the same time.
And I see Reggie gave you the dragon heart.
And like people who don't know, I have played a lot of Endless Space. So Amplitude Studio, they've helped me along a lot. We've covered it as well. Endless Space is an awesome game.
G's still out there searching for the end.
Yeah. Theirs is about how do you make games? How do you make games together and have that whole... Yeah, it's a thing in Amplitude Studios, being together and working together. So I kind of sort of want to hear that. But, you know, I can't be everywhere at once. And that's the headache with Devcom. There are tracks all the time. There's so many things to go to. There are breakfasts and drinks and... Ooh.
Yeah, that's any convention, especially nowadays. They pack it with so much stuff because there's so many people going. They've got to try and, you know, get that crowd to split up. You can't all be in one place.
Thanks for getting the power.
Remember, Devcom is like the little brother to Gamescom. It happens before Gamescom. There are also talks and stuff at Gamescom. So, yay.
Well, what does that make E3 then? The redheaded stepchild?
E3, I've heard about that.
No, when you said Devcom was the little brother, it just reminded me of all the times that we've talked about E3, about being a big AAA convention, and you're like, your comeback to that is always about how much bigger Gamescom is.
No worries.
No, I'm thinking E3 is not the one that doesn't exist anymore.
Well, that might be true in the future. We shall see.
I mean, E3 is different from Gamescom. Gamescom is for the public, but also for the business. Like it has two completely separate things, where E3 was for the business and then having added public access. Devcom is completely business only, and if you go to PAX, all the PAXs, the EGXs, they're only for the public. There's very little business going on in parallel. There is, but it's not the main focus. So with E3 having its focus on the business side, on the PR side, on the marketing side, and having just released 2,000 journalists' names and addresses and whatnot, nobody's going to go there. Nobody who is on that side of the PR equation are going to go to E3. So that kind of defeats the purpose of E3.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what happens with that convention next year. Especially because of that data breach. But moving back to Gamescom, is there any other indie titles that you're looking forward to getting a chance to sit down with?
Oh, but that's the thing. There's a whole pile of them. So, as I said, Everspace, and then we get to talk to Michael Schade from Rockfish. And there's a few other ones that also tie in. But when we get to Gamescom, first thing, Rockfish. Then one that I am definitely looking forward to, and here I have to be careful how much I can tell, because we get to see Devil's Hunt, which is releasing later this year, and then we get to see Secret Government at 1C. Those I'm looking forward to, but there might be something else that we might be able to talk about later coming out of that one.
That's all you get for now.
This episode brought to you by lots and lots of teases of things we'll talk about later.
Now get out of here. I'm tired of you.
And also because this goes live Wednesday, technically I can say that we get to talk. We will have, when it comes out, we will have talked with Bad Joke and their upcoming game, Main Assembly. So Main Assembly only just got announced a couple of weeks ago, and this is the first outing for Main Assembly. It's the first time they show it. Probably will be at Gamescom. So I'm sort of looking forward to that one. For people who know Kerbal Space Program, for example, knows the whole putting vehicles together and using them. Kerbal Space Program, of course, you try to get to space. In Main Assembly, there's different things you have to do. Not get to space, but other things. So different challenges, and it's not the only game where you build vehicles. But I think this one seems to do it quite well.
Yeah, I think I saw their Steam page on this, and it was interesting, the level of programming that you have access to, and I can see people using this engine to make their own games in the engine, racing games or, racing and shooting games or, whatever.
Yeah, and that's the thing, where this goes. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to mimic Roblox. Just less pathetic. And I say that knowing Roblox makes a fuck ton of money, but Roblox today is a recruiting platform for pedophiles. So, don't go there.
Roblox for adults.
Yeah. Disclaimer, I have kids and they're prohibited from accessing Roblox. So that's kind of sort of my Tuesday. Rockfish, Devil's Hunt, and Secret Government, and something else. Bad joke, and then I'm wrapping it up with Project Witchstone, which is going to be... This is one of those I can imagine, Drac, you saw me having it on the list and just went, I don't want to play that game.
Well, I know they've got turn-based combat, which I prefer kind of real-time, but it did... Like, the art and whatnot for this looked interesting. One of the things that they're advertising...
and some of the storytelling.
Well, and the one of the things that I thought was really interesting is they talk about it being a living and reactive world. So,
precisely.
Yeah, the world should react to the things that the player does, that the choices the player makes, and so I'd like to know a little bit more about that and how that works.
So that's kind of why we picked it up, because turn-based, not a lot of us here at BAMS is really into BAM is, I should point out, but me and Drac less so. And I want to see still where this goes, because this looks like a really good game.
Well, and the other thing I'd really like to know about this game that I haven't seen yet is whether or not they'll include some kind of tool set for players to make their own adventures.
That's one of those we'll have to see, because there isn't really much said about it in the material I have, so we'll have to dig into it and see what they have to show us. Then this was one of those I sort of think you would like, not entirely sure. Daedalic. They are a publisher and partly developer as well. I'm slightly confused with them. But A Year of Rain and Iron Danger. Technically they're not indie games, I guess. But it looked really good. I like the visual styles, literally of both of them. And we got the option to talk to them, and we'll be sitting down and checking out their game. Well, games.
Yeah, Year of Rain is an RTS, as I remember. And if I remember right, they were saying something about, or at least the way that they were advertising, it was something to the effect of it being like the ultimate RTS. And so I'm a little curious as to how they're going to have theirs stand out from other RTSs that have existed in the past. RTSs are a style of game that I do play from time to time. Not my favorite style of game, but I do get some fun out of them. I don't care to build up massive armies and deal with the skirmishing back and forth across the map. A lot of times when I play an RTS, it'll be at our LAN sessions, and I'll let the other guys at the LAN sessions do all that, and then I just sit back and make the massive super weapons so that when we're ready to attack, I can just nuke the other team.
See, that's where when you say RTS, for me they go back to arguably Populous. Dune 2, right? That's where we really get modern RTSs. Majesty. Those for me were fun. There's a lot of... Once we talk Warcraft, Starcraft, can't be bothered.
I had some fun with Warcraft.
Yeah, but it's circing. I want games that have a little bit of fun in them. So, this one, I'm definitely looking forward to see how they are doing it. as you say, they're definitely saying they're doing it well. So we want to see how well.
And then Iron Danger, I remember looking at the like some of the trailers and stuff for that, and it's a very pretty game. The set design is really nice. So
As said, both of them I find looked good. And that was kind of the reason why somebody sent me the PR blurb, and said, I'll look at them. Literally, they look good. Let me at them.
well, and they listed as having turn-based combats, but in the trailers, it didn't really look turn-based, which I thought was kind of strange. It looked more along the lines of something like real-time or real-time with pause versus turn-based. So I don't know if maybe the turn-based stuff is happening in the background. And then they said something about like being able to manipulate time, rewind time, or something like that. So
That's the risky thing, because I don't know if it's just endlessly, oh, this didn't go well, let's rewind. I mean, are they undoing the concept of a save and load again? You know, good old way of cheesing games. Oh, you save because it looks dangerous. Oh, you failed, you load again. Are they just getting rid of that by saying, oh, we'll just rewind time and try again?
they've got that little time necklace from Harry Potter. You just spin it backwards.
Yeah. So that one has me, you know. That game could be terrible, I'll be honest, but it looks good, and if it's done right, it will be great.
Yeah, and from what I saw, they were saying at least that the story was inspired by Finnish folklore, so I'm kind of curious to see what inspiration they took, or if there were any stories in particular that they're pulling from.
I'm actually not that strong on Finnish folklore. I know what it is. It's animalism, basically. It's based around animalism. So what we'll see, I can't tell. 'Cause it's the one part of Northern European mythology and mythos that I'm not strong in at all.
I don't know a lot about it myself, but it's always kind of fun to read up on those things.
Oh yeah, I'm the terrible one. When game devs come up and say, "Oh yeah, we based it on Scandinavian or Germanic mythos, Norse gods," I'm going, "Yeah, okay, come on, have at it." After that, Numbskull games, which is slightly different. Numbskull normally presents, toys. I know you don't quite like that. They do these cute little quarter-sized arcades. So you, instead of get a full-sized arcade, you get a small one with screen and everything, buttons. It's a full arcade. I don't know if there's coin drop in them, actually, for playing arcade games. I like that. It's a little thing you can have like on a table, on a shelf, and have fun with. I'd love to just have a game room where they were just lined up on a shelf and you can go and play arcade games.
Oh, that is pretty cool, yeah.
But they are getting into game publishing, and exactly what that means kind of remains to be seen. We've seen some of the stuff they supported. We've seen where they've gone out and helped make physical copies of games. Usually, limited runs. I should not use that word because that's another company that actually does also do limited runs of games, and with various loot in them. So what this means that they're now supposedly publishing them, we'll have to see. But by the time you hear this, I should already have had a little meeting with them to find out. And of course, they just released Tubbz, which is ducks cosplaying. So I hope to see some of those and possibly steal one.
Yeah, you sent me some pictures of this, and it basically makes me think that it's a rubber ducky version of Funko Pops.
Yeah, and the problem with the rubber ducky thing is because they're so elaborate. Like, it's a rubber duck where they then added stuff on top of. They don't actually float.
Oh no. That's too bad.
Yeah, this is how the fuck do you release a line of rubber ducks that don't float? So I'm looking forward to it. Also just to meet the guy, Ryan, to see what they have. Then I have, Recompile. That's going to be fun. That's with future friends. So anybody who in indie dev will know Thomas Reisenegger, Austrian guy. They're now running, or he and some others are running Future Friends PR company, and they have a bunch of small, quaint, always quaint, quirky, fun, good-looking for various forms of good-looking indie games, and we're getting to meet two of them actually. Recompile, we'll have a meeting with Wednesday, and then Mipumi. Check that one out. Actually, Mipumi looks really weird. I think that's a nice way of saying it. On Thursday, I'll be chatting with them. So I don't really have much to add to it. Just that it looks like fun games, and I think Recompile's visual style more than anything is what draws me to it.
That one, I think, just in my head for some reason was like I always try to compare games to other games for folks, who don't necessarily have something to look at. But in my head, I was thinking it was something along the lines of Tron meeting Contra and Metroid, but in a 3D environment.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I can sort of see that. Ish. The color scheme is not quite, but yes. That's difficult, yeah.
Alright, and what did you have up next?
Oh, and then Autonauts. Again, we're back into small little indie games.
Yeah, this one had you, I guess, what was it, building up stuff on little planets and then moving from planet to planet or something like that?
Yeah, I can't quite figure out what they do with it, as far as getting around, but it's very much that whole build up a place and then, I guess, inviting people in to be there with you. But it's about automating a place, and we see that in a lot of games. When I say here, build up an automated place, everybody goes, "Ooh, Satisfactory," or Factorio. This one's more Minecraft visually and cutesy and weird. So you get robots and you tell them to do things, and they do it for you. But the whole thing done in first or third person view. And it's medieval, you're farming, you build up a farmland, you tell some of them to go over and do stuff, like farm things for you. So, a little bit Kingdoms and Castle Gefühl to it.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I remember what Kingdoms and Castles looked like, and it's got a similar look to it.
Yeah. It's so sort of, yeah, I said the Gefühl wise, yeah. And it's coming out later this year, so Autonauts, just if you like building and planning and I guess sort of Minecrafty and sort of Kingdom Castle and sort of automating things, check out Autonauts. But we'll have a little bit more on that probably in the episode after Gamescom.
Alright, and then was there anything else that you're looking forward to at Gamescom before we move on to Remnant from the Ashes?
Oh, dude, we're only through Wednesday.
Only through
Liberated.
Wednesday? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Liberate is also one of those I have on my schedule. I think that one's mostly for you, really. This should have been you going for that one. It's sort of a game told more or less black and white in a comic book.
Oh, okay.
Who doesn't want to play a game in a comic book? I sort of get the feeling that it's a hard take on me, the video game. Okay, you didn't catch that reference?
You actually cut out, sorry. What'd you say?
A hard take on me, the video game.
Take on me, the video game.
Come on, you never watched the music video for Aha's Take on Me from 1980 something?
I don't think I've watched the music video, no. I don't know how many times I've heard the song, but I don't know anything about the video.
It's a girl sitting in a diner and she's looking at a comic book, and suddenly the character in the comic book comes alive and there's a hand that comes out and pulls her into the comic book.
Oh, okay.
Awesomely made, particularly for the time. So Liberate sort of have a look a little bit like part of that music video. But what's actually in it, and it's a super libertarian story apparently, so that's always fun to see. And I just want to check out what it is and how they're doing it. Made it by a Polish company whose name I think is Walkabout. Want to check out what it is. Thursday though, guest of the show, somebody we've had on. Well, technically not somebody we had on, but we had somebody from the company, Mooneye Studios. They had a Kickstarter for Lost Ember. We had them on, start of Season 2. We're already in Season 4, so a couple of years ago. And they're finally getting to the point of release. I think they have actually released the game. And they're now doing the whole, the PR, the marketing tour. And we get to sit down and try out the game and talk to them how they've had this whole joyride of a very successful Kickstarter and then a production process and period afterwards that dragged out a little bit longer than they thought and have been more ups and downs, but it looks like a really great game has come out of it anyway.
Yeah, the visual style of this definitely looks cool. A little bit, almost like digital, kind of cartoony, but the idea that you're playing and I guess inhabiting these different animals as you go along in this world is kind of an interesting idea.
Definitely. It's not the only one done it, but I think they kind of set off something that others have, sort of tried to mimic. Vane goes a little bit in that direction, sort of. Fool has done the bird part. A couple of others are also looking at it. So I want to see what Lost Ember really got to and what they ended up with story-wise. So with this one I've been looking forward to for some years now. And just to be clear, it's a trip down memory road because we actually met them at Gamescom 3-4 years ago. That's literally where we first had contact with them and played the game.
Nice.
So it comes around. And finally, to wrap up Gamescom, the game you don't want me to talk about. The meeting you don't want to hear about. The reason why you already tried to move on to the next thing.
No, actually, I had a feeling you were going to intentionally leave this one out, and I was still going to bring it up anyway. So go ahead.
Let's hurt poor Drac. I have a 1-hour presentation and meeting and sit down and everything with the developer CyberPunk 2077.
Now, this is going to be the funny thing for you. Because I know you know how much I'm anticipating this game and how much I'm looking forward to finally getting my hands on it in April.
And how many copies you already pre-ordered?
So, I actually have been working very diligently to temper my excitement or my anticipation for the game. And kind of just now that I know what the release date is and I've seen what the initial gameplay demo was, I know that we're going to get to see some more demo after PAX West this year. I'm pushing it to the back of my mind. So, yes, I'm excited for it. I can't wait to play it. But I don't have a lot of questions because I know that when you go there, you're going to get some standard information, and I really don't expect that you're going to be able to pull or pry much out of them. They're probably going to be pretty tight-lipped. So, go and enjoy it, man. Have a good time with it.
And that's sort of all I can do because it's 1 hour completely scripted from their end. Not allowed to record anything, film anything, take any pictures, nothing. It's just show up, do a thing, ask some questions, but, pen and paper. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you can, take some notes. You can talk about the things that you see and hear in the game.
We know somebody there. We know actually a couple of people who's worked on the game that we can't mention because apparently that gets them in trouble. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting to say thank you to the person who actually arranged this for me.
I couldn't have done it alone.
But it's such a weird thing. All the other things that we're meeting. I mean, sure. Again, 1C is a little bit over there because they also come in. Here's a scripted presentation. Last year, Techland did the same thing. Come in, here's a scripted presentation, now get out. Also, Techland was, here's a scripted presentation. Also, here's a lot of vodka and beer. Now get out.
Well, CyberPunk did have I think a bar or something set up. So you might get something like that in the social space before or after your game demo.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Techland and CDPR are both Polish.
Yeah, but the things that I really want you to ask them, which you might be able to get answers for, is, they've got some cool statues, like they gave the one out at E3. And then there's the other one you can order with the collector's edition, but they're just statues. I want you to ask them about the possibility of an actual articulated action figure, and they've recently released some disc plates, so if you like the style of metal posters, you can go out and check those out. There are some CyberPunk 2077 disc plates, but unfortunately, the thing that disappointed me about that was shortly before that, they released some imagery, and they had them titled differently, so there was like style over substance, substance over style, and then there was a couple others. And those were not included in the disc plates that they released. So I'm kind of hoping you can ask them if they'll, put those up there as well.
Well, I think I might actually see if I can corner Holly. Ooh, that sounds wrong. And ask her some questions of that sort. I know you already filled my little notebook with questions of that topic. So yes, I shall ask questions about the toys for you and the displays. But let's be honest, I'm just going there to see the game, ultimately. And to ask questions, but to see the game. 1C, they're also, is it Polish? I think they're Polish. And that's also, here's beer and vodka. Last year I had to give away, because I don't really drink anymore, I gave away cans of beer. Polish beer with the awesome fairy motifs on them. From... was it Eternity, Last Unicorn, something like that? Or it might have been Fellseal themed. So themed around games from 1C. They put on cans, and likewise the beer and vodka at Techland was also themed around Techland and Dying Light 2 and the Battle Royale that came out at the same time.
See, that's the kind of thing that I would have been willing to, like, if I didn't drink, I'd been willing to give someone the beer by maybe puncturing the bottom of the can or something like that. But I would have wanted to keep the can.
I have a theory. If CD Projekt Red did do whatever a Cyberpunk 2077 beer can, that you'll want me to empty it and send you the empty can.
Hell yes.
So I'll get two, but tell you I only got one, and then do the thing where you smash a beer can against your forehead. Oh, did you want this one? Crunch.
How dare you, sir?
So that's sort of just a wrap of the ones that we have that we can talk about for the next couple of weeks, and then that should more or less be what we will be coming out with. There'll be a little bit of content about some of them. Our friends at Atomic, shout out to Frank. They are strongly there at the Indie Games Arena, which is genuinely the best part of Gamescom. Go there. If you're at Gamescom, go to the Indie Arena. Ignore the other halls. Unless you're there for the business, then go to the business halls. But if you're there as a public person, private person, if you're there just to see games, go to the Indie Arena. Go check out Atomic. Go check out all the other stuff that is there as well. Because that's the fun part, and it's just machines lined up after machine where you can go and play a different game. You can go up, play a game, and then just shift over a meter, and there's another computer, another game, play that. And I've set time aside Tuesday because that's before the masses show up and kind of make noise, that I can go for a couple hours and check it out. But at the same time, I know all those games are already booked full and they won't have time for me on Tuesday. Yay. Not to mention our guests from last week. They will be there. They're up in Hall 10.2, I think it is, which is the same one or just above the Indie Arena. I'll have to go say hi to them.
All right, and then moving off of the Gamescom stuff and into Remnant from the Ashes, I wanted to touch on that just a little bit since it's a game that just came out this week. They had their early access VIP preview over the weekend if you'd pre-ordered the game, which I decided to do last minute so that we could play it at our LAN session on Friday night. And the game did come out on Monday the 19th. Just some thoughts I had from the game playing it so far. As expected from the videos, the look of the game is really neat. The design of some of the creatures is pretty cool. Some of it is a bit frustrating. It doesn't, at least at this point, what I've gotten to see thus far, which is, I want to say maybe 8 hours of playtime in the game, 6 to 8 hours of playtime in the game right now. Doesn't seem to be too grindy. The level progression so far has been nice. Being able to upgrade your equipment and stuff has been pretty good. I did hit kind of what I'm expecting might be like a little bit of a soft ceiling so far. But some of the more frustrating things in it is like the boss fight mechanics. They keep spawning these explosive creatures that then give you disease. So the way that some of these game mechanics works in the game, I know G mentioned to me that he was surprised I wanted to play it because it was listed as survival. You don't have to eat food and drink water and clothe yourself or die. That kind of thing is not going on. But they do have...
No pooping?
No, not that I've seen. Although, the way that some of these creatures are, there's plenty of gas.
Yeah.
But, no, there's different types of status effects that get applied to you based on how you take damage. So you could end up bleeding and then need to bandage yourself to mitigate that. There's basically a disease type or an infectious mechanic where, it'll affect your movement. You'll start coughing so you can't run, and there's something you can take to mitigate that. And
cough drops.
It's some kind of oil that you down, so it's all in the form of potions. I should say the bandages aren't potions, but so far the story has been okay, and level design seems to be a little bit kind of rehashed. So I don't know if this is one of those things where maybe it's just we're still early in the game, but I'd say the most frustrating thing by far has been the boss fight mechanics, because the few bosses that we fought keep spawning these explosive spore-like creatures that run at you and blow up, and the bosses themselves are very bullet spongy, which is to be expected a little bit, in these kinds of games with a boss fight. But when you're dealing with a boss that does a lot of damage to you, chases you down, sometimes very quickly, other times not, but and then they're also spawning out these explosive things that come at you from all directions, and sometimes you don't even see them. That can be very frustrating. I think there was one boss fight took us several times to get through, but we managed to finally get through that. And then there was another one where we just kind of quit out at the end of the night because some of these what do they call them? The root or something like that, where it basically looks like trees or tree roots that have come to life. And there was an Ent boss that we were fighting. It has a couple of crit spots, but those crit spots are extremely well protected and hidden. And about the only time that the major crit spot even becomes available to shoot is when he's shooting out explosive drops at you. So you're already trying to dodge and everything else. So definitely there's some frustration. I expect that things probably based on community feedback are going to change a little bit as time goes on, hopefully for the better. But so far it's been a fun game to play, albeit frustrating at times. And I definitely want to put some more time into it just to see, how much further I can get in.
So, third person run and shoot.
Yes. Yeah, well, and there's also a melee mechanic to it as well.
Okay. So yeah, I'm looking at it. It looks like you're fighting Ents, and there's something that looks like might be a beholder, and you have guns. So it's Remnant, the Death Division.
In a way, sure.
Okay. Good. So if you like Destiny or the Division, you're going to like this, particularly if you like Tolkien.
I'd say closer to Division in a way than Destiny, but sure.
Okay. But the Tolkien was okay.
Yeah, well, I guess
Or
kind
is
of
it slightly more Cthulhu. Or
yeah, I'd say it leans heavily more into something like that. I mean, no insanity mechanics or anything that I've seen thus far, but yeah, it's more of a light horror-ish genre than fantasy.
Okay. Oh, to be fair, if it mimics Destiny and the Division, then there's plenty of madness. But isn't that the definition of madness? Doing the same thing over and 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 over
yeah,
again.
More or less, yeah.
So no, the thing that really to me stands out is the bosses. They look awesome, genuinely.
Yeah, the visual style, the controls, that stuff has been working pretty well. I like the way the game looks and feels when you're playing it. So
I'm looking at the feature set, and the most standout part is full controller support. Yay!
I play with mouse and keyboard.
Well, that's your fault. Anyway, should we wrap it up?
Yeah, we definitely have more or less bumping up on the hour mark here. So once again, wanted to thank everyone for sticking with us. Hope the preview stuff we have is of interest to you. We'll get everything out as quickly as we can throughout the week. If you haven't checked out Remnant from the Ashes, at least go take a look at the videos and see if that's something worth. It's only a $40 game, so as far as the game release goes, I think that's fairly priced. And as always, a like, share, subscribe, all of those things are extremely appreciated if you are on the YouTubes or Facebooks or Twitters. And thank you for your listenership. This is Drac, and I'm going to get out of here today.
Ciao.
G, the man of few words.